right, as people file in, we always have the question of the day, the question of the webinar. Christine, what is, since you are in the great white north of
Oh,
Maine,
it is so white right now too.
right, what is the best part of winter?
When it's over.
I thought you might say that. What's the worst part of winter?
I am not a big winter fan for someone who has lived in New England my whole life. Although we do snowshoe and I don't mind that. But I'm not, I'm Christmas. Christmas is the best part of winter. And then it can stop snowing right after that and go back to being sunny and 70.
I have never snowshoed. How is that just like in comparison to going for a hike?
Yeah, kind of similar. Like you're usually not on like an incline like you would be with a hike. So
Yeah,
you're typically not doing elevation, but similar style workout. The snowshoes are designed to keep you on top of the snow to make it a little bit easier so that you're not
yeah.
sinking in and coming up. But it's a lot of work, but it's fun when you get fresh snow to go out into the woods. It's a pretty walk. So
Oh, I bet. Do you have to lift your feet a lot higher?
not really.
No.
It's kind of similar to cross country skiing. Like you don't necessarily shuffle, but kind of like, so you
Okay.
don't necessarily have to do a big heavy lift, but it's still a good workout.
Yeah. Wear regular hiking boots, or they have boots that are part of a
You
snowshoe?
can,
Again, I've never
you
done it.
can, yeah, you can wear whatever you want. So typically the straps are adjustable, like pretty big straps. So like you just put them over whatever boots you have on and then strap them to your shoes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you. There we go. Now we know Christine hates winter, even though she lives in Maine. Go figure that. I guess that's why you're going to Arizona next
Yeah,
week.
heading
All
out
right.
someplace warm for a break.
Right. Well, good for you. All right. Well, if anybody has any comments that they would like to throw in there about winter, feel free to drop it into the Q&A. My name is Gary Dehart. I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant, host of today's webinar. Christine is our speaker, Christine Gervais, CPA, working on doctorate, and one of our lead writers for Insightful Accountant, primarily on the tax side. She also does TPN tax talks every other month, and then she also contributes content as well as another webinar series in our Be Insightful Premium Content Program. And how's this for a lead in for that? So if you haven't heard of the Be Insightful Premium Content Program, it's our push to monetize the audience. Let's just be very upfront about that, but also to bring some very specific training to uh, out for our audience. You'll see in front of you, we've got Coach's Corner, app comparisons, tech stack, tax practice, Your Firm Accelerated, which is basically a sales track, sales and marketing track, practical automations, migrations from or to desktop, or not to desktop, but migrations, opportunities that are out there, human resources, and niche marketing. And so if you'd like some information on that, just say yes. Is it? Oh, I haven't launched it. Sitting here talking as if people can see what I just said. Now you can see it. So it's 9 training tracks basically, and we host about 3 a month on average. Tax season, I think we're going to have 2, maybe. I think we only had 2 this month, but on average, we host about 3 a month, and that'll get you about 36 hours of CPE, as well as access to white papers and other premium content that is member only. We currently have a $1 first month, $49 a month after that, and then or you can just pay up front for, I think it's $4.99 per year currently. So there we go. I'm going to give just another second or two to complete. It's a very yes, no, or already a member. We're going to close this out now. 3, 2, and 1. All right, Christine is talking today, binding and securing. Nope, 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 nope. That's the one that you're going to talk about. Christine, I'm going to let you take it over from here, and you're going to talk about data security essentials, protecting client data. That is probably somewhat important for tax and accounting professionals, protecting that client data, right? So,
It is. It is.
all right. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks everybody for being here, and thank you, Christine, for taking some time. And I will be out of here, but I'll be hiding in the background.
Absolutely. All right. Always my favorite part. Let me get my screen shared up here and we'll start our presentation.
And while she does that, if you do have questions, drop them into the Q&A and be real specific in that question. Christine, what did you mean by you don't like winter? Not just what did you mean? So that she'll know what you're referring to. And
Yes.
I do see your slides.
I'm going to bring up that Q&A box to get these over. So I'll try to keep an eye on the Q&A and the chat box as well. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. So just a short little lunchtime tidbit today on lots of data, information security, cybersecurity things to keep in mind during tax season. Gary and I were just talking. It is getting towards the end of February, and we are starting to feel like full-blown tax season over here. It's getting busy. And of course, with everything getting busy, we start to have a lot more moving parts, a lot more data, and talking about keeping that secure is really important. And then I'll just give another plug for the premium content. If you're not already a member, $49 a month is an absolute steal for the amount of CPE that is available to you in this. Biased, obviously, because I think that there's some great content in there related to taxes. But I have also listened to the other presenters. They're amazing, providing a ton of value in areas that are really specific to your business as well, like the marketing and the human resources that we all as business owners also need for our practices. So that is a ton of value for the money. If you are not already a member, hop in there. And then just if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, you can go ahead and scan the QR code and make sure that you're not missing that weekly content that Gary was talking about, those weekly articles, news, and the things that you need to know. For those of you who I haven't met, Gary already provided my introduction. My name is Christine Gervais. I've been a licensed CPA for about 15 years now, running my own practice for going on 10 next year. So getting up there. And I think the thing that really drives a lot of the content discussions that we have here is that we're still considered a small business. We're a small practice. We have about 9 of us total, but we are dealing with the same things that you're dealing with in running your practices. So these are all things that are coming up for me also as a practice owner and operator in a small environment where, budget and time constraints are a big deal, but these are issues that we need to talk about as tax practitioners. And security is definitely one of them. So I'm going to give you this fun disclaimer. This is just to tell you that I am not an IT professional. I'm definitely not someone that you want to come help you if you're having computer issues. My version of helping is to hold down the power key until it resets itself. But I am going to encourage you that if you don't already have a great IT team that you're working with, you're really going to want to explore that, and maybe not something to do in the middle of tax season. Hopefully today will give you some things that you can implement right away just to make sure that you're being as secure and conscientious of security issues as possible through the rest of busy season. But finding an IT team who either specializes in working with accounting and tax practices, or the other thing that you can look for is an IT team that is used to working with HIPAA compliant businesses. So that might be like medical offices. We basically, as tax practitioners, are subject to very similar rules and regulations as a HIPAA compliant business would be because of the amount of protected personal information that we collect from our clients. So if you don't have an IT team that has that niche or experience, that would be something that I would highly encourage you to, put on your list of things to do to really protect your practice. A goal for the rest of the year is to find that good fit for you. So things that we're starting to see, probably some of you are seeing some of this too. We're seeing these scams become more and more advanced, especially with AI. We're starting to see the emails look more and more legitimate. This one I think is actually kind of obvious. And most of our clients at this point know, either from communications from us or communications from the IRS, that, these types of email and text message scams are not legitimate. But I have gotten some emails even in the recent weeks that I have to actually do some research on. I have to go Google the domain name. I have to kind of do a little bit of digging because the way that they're coming in, again, especially with advances in AI, Some of these communications are coming in looking very real. And while you might be able to control what you're doing or not doing in your practice, when you start to have people who are working for you and an abundance of clients, the really important thing that we have to keep in mind is that we have to also worry about their behavior, right? So we have to worry about our employees potentially clicking on something that they're not supposed to, especially because these communications look very legitimate. I've had emails come in from, it appears as if it's someone that I actually know. So it's not even spammy. It looks like it's coming directly from someone that I have emailed with in the past. It's their email address. So you have to be super careful. And you also want to make sure that you're training your clients on these things as well, because even though it might not relate to a data breach on our end, them having to deal with some type of identity theft issues or something related to their tax returns, that is going to inevitably make our job harder. We all know that there's extra steps involved when there's someone that has dealt with identity theft or been a victim of one of these issues. And so we really just want to make sure that we're providing that value to protect our clients. Saving ourselves some work on the back end, and also making sure that we're being compliant and training our staff so that we're avoiding any potential issues within our practice. So, just some statistics for you. Obviously, security is a growing threat. A lot more of us are working a lot more digitally than we were in the past. Our practice is a fully remote practice. So, everybody is working fully digitally. There's no paper. That means lots of data is going back and forth, different places all the time, whether or not it's our portal, email, etc. So, tax related identity theft has gone up a ton since 2020. I'm going to venture a guess that COVID also contributed to this because that was where we saw that big shift to digital communication. A lot of firms that maybe were not as digitally running in the past, obviously going that route, and we're not doing as much face to face. So you don't have the same type of face to face contact with people anymore. Cyber attacks on average cost $1 million per incident. That is a huge amount of money and enough to bankrupt a small practice. So we need to pay attention to this. And then 94% of tax returns are now filed digitally. I'm sure most of you are aware of this because as practitioners, most of us are required to e file our clients' tax returns. And clients are getting in the habit of filing tax returns electronically as well, especially with some of the more systems that the IRS has been setting up. So that's all to tell you that we've got a lot of personal information, names, social security numbers, birth dates, bank account information going across the internet at a rapid warp speed rate. And we really need to pay attention to how we're keeping that secure. So I mentioned employees are a risk, and the way that we mitigate that risk is through training and conversations. Human error accounts for most cyber incidents, especially because those emails are coming in looking like they are legitimate, and then somebody clicks on it. They mean well, they think it's a real email, that it's something that they're supposed to be doing. They don't take those extra couple seconds to just follow up, research, ask the IT team, and boom, you have this giant issue on your hands. So you really do want to make sure that you're doing consistent training with your team and that they feel empowered when they're in doubt about something that they can just ask. That's one of the things that I think has been the most valuable to us with the IT team that we happen to work with is that our team has access to them. If they know that if they're not sure about something, they can pass it on to the IT team and just say, can you take a look at this and tell me whether or not this is legitimate or if this is a threat? And they feel really empowered to do that before making a decision. And that hopefully helps to avoid some incidences that we are obviously trying to avoid. We want to make sure that we're catching these things before they become an issue. Definitely want to make sure that we're looking at our internal controls for this multi-layered approach. So that means that multi-factor authentication, that dual authentication, that is a super pain in the neck where you're either getting email codes, text message codes, you have an authenticator app like Google or the Microsoft Authenticator. all of the things that you are logging into on a daily basis, your tax software, your bookkeeping software, your client portals, any of the places where you are accessing protected client information, you want to make sure that these MFA credentials are turned on for you, for the entire team, that they're not optional, that people can't opt out of them. That multi-layer can save you in an incident instance where potentially someone's password is compromised. Potentially there's some type of data breach, like say the client portal software that you're using has a data breach on their end, and potentially your employees' logins are compromised. Those codes going to specific places that those hackers might not also have access to is that second layer check. So, as a firm policy, we should be making sure that MFA is turned on, it's required. We're going to talk about WISPs at the end, but 2 years ago, accounting practices had the requirement to have that written information security plan in place. Having the requirement written right in there that you should have multi factor authentication on everything is just an absolute necessity. And then a couple of just software suggestions for you if you're not using any of these or you're not sure where to look. Things that can help encrypt files, those authenticator apps. We use 1Password. I absolutely love it. I know a lot of people that use LastPass love LastPass as well, but those are secure. Password saving. So if you're worried about having highly secure passwords that are difficult to remember, or the age old terrible one where someone is writing them down somewhere that's not secure, these password keepers can help you. So you have one secure password to get into the password keeper, and then you can securely save your passwords in there. So that is a much better option to offer to your team. As opposed to leaving them to their own devices and having them potentially saving their passwords in an unsecure location, or terrible have a password document on their computer that doesn't have multi-factor authentication to get into. So secure document collection obviously becomes a very big concern during tax season. We have clients firing documents at us left, right, and center. I have found that no matter how much training and communication we do with our clients, that they will still send us documentation in an insecure manner, unfortunately. So clients have a tendency to email documents. I have had clients, unfortunately, text message us documents. Those are things that are not secure, and we want to get them out of those inboxes as quickly as possible. So we want to have them, not be in our emails. We want to make sure that they're deleted from our deleted mail folders so that those cannot be accessed by someone who might hack into our emails. That is a big area that's susceptible. So we don't want clients emailing those. So we really encourage our clients to use our secure client portal. If you don't have one, there's also some suggestions for secure portals on here, or secure cloud storage. One thing that I will say is that you need to be a little bit careful about free versions. Like I know that Google Drive and Dropbox have free versions that you can use up to a certain amount of storage. You really need to read the fine print or talk to your IT team and have them read the fine print for you. Most of the time with softwares like that, if you are on the free version, the fine print will say that you are not afforded any of the compliance protection by that particular piece of software, meaning that if there is a data breach, any type of liability is going to fall to you because you're not using a paid plan. So that's something to just keep in mind and look into, if you are on one of the free versions of those. But make it easy for your clients, continuously retrain them, same as reminding your employees the reason why these things are important. That if you have a client that is consistently sending you documentation in an insecure manner, just remind them to send everything through your portal, make it easily accessible to them, put a link on your website, put a link at the bottom of your email signature so that it's just always there and easily accessible to them. So that over time, hopefully, what ends up happening is you see more and more of the documentation coming through to you in a secure manner. The other thing that's great about that is that it goes into a spot where your whole team can see it. And we've all dealt with the client that no matter how many times we ask them, they are still like sending everything just to one person, and you have to keep forwarding things all of the time. Not efficient, not secure. But the portal allows for the entire team to see the documents that they need to have access to for the clients that they are working on. Um, Taxome in particular, I like that they also have an app, a phone app that clients can download and access, because it makes it really convenient for them to snap pictures and securely upload those pictures. So if you have the client that tends to want to text message you things all of the time, that's one of the ways that we can transition them to a secure communication platform. And they're still sort of doing the same process that they were doing before. So, not a big lift for them. We just are transitioning them to doing it more securely. And then looking at your e-signature compliance. So this is really important. The IRS has very specific guidelines and rules about what constitutes a compliant e-signature from a client. I put the link right in the slide deck for you. So if you're so inclined, or you're feeling like you're not necessarily up to speed on what the IRS does and doesn't require for collecting e-signatures, you can click that link. It'll take you right out to the IRS webpage, with all of the details about what is considered a compliant e-signature. Generally, the biggest thing is that an e-signature has to have some form of identity um, process when the client opens it. Meaning, if I send an e-signature request to John Smith, when John Smith opens it, he should have something on that end that requires him to identify that he is, in fact, John Smith signing this document. So that's usually known as KBA signatures. They will be asked some type of identifying questions, like, where did you live in 1992, and what was the, make and model of your first car, or something like that, to identify who they are. So those types of digital tracking and identity protection signatures helps us to make sure that these documents are compliantly being signed, one, correctly under the IRS compliance regulations, but it also has that extra layer of protection for our clients, that, these emails aren't being intercepted by someone who is not them. Windora, yes, we will email the slides out, and I believe we can also pop them in the chat for all of you as well, so that you can go ahead and grab them. I have not looked at I'm not sure if that's pronounced N0 or N-Ciro as a portal system. So would be interested to learn more about that. Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys for your questions. So again, if you haven't reviewed this recently, definitely encourage you to go ahead and click that link when you get the slide deck. We will send it out. This will be up on our YouTube channel, and we'll see if we can get that popped into the webinar chat for you too. But take a look at these. Make sure that you are sending compliant e-signatures. That's something that is obviously a liability on us as the practitioners, that we want to make sure that we are doing that compliantly, and that our team is doing that compliantly. Develop an incident response plan. This is also something that's required as part of your written information security plan. So if you don't have a WISP, or it hasn't been, looked at since maybe you put it in place at the end of 23, yep. Something to take a look at. What is your incident response plan? Talk to your IT team about it. What happens if we do find out that there's been some type of data breach, that we have, somebody has clicked on something in our email system that they're not supposed to. So you want to have these conversations and make sure that you have some type of plan in place. What is your backup strategy for your data? So if something's compromised, how do you get back your good data? How do you track when the last time that you had good data available was? All things that I highly encourage you to talk to an IT team about and make sure are in place for your practice. Using AI for threat detection. So AI has gotten really great at helping to improve the threats, but we can also use some tools that are out there that help us to better pay attention to threat detection, identify threat detection. And again, AI is meant to continuously learn over time. So the more information it receives, the more empowered it is to provide a higher quality answer. So some suggested AI powered tools that you can take a look at that are designed specifically for threat detection. Again, I'm going to tell you that ultimately you should be having a conversation with your IT team and you should be implementing whatever their recommendations are for threat detection, for security, etc. But these are some specific AI powered tools that you can go take a look at, that are designed, it says it right there, they're designed to kind of detect behavior that doesn't look normal. And so that's on the back end. That is, behind the computer screen, the places that we can't really see. All of a sudden, there's something in the data that's not acting or behaving the way that we would normally expect it to. And that's what these tools are designed to do. And that's exactly what we want, is hey, this is happening. This might not be normal. And we want to bring someone's attention to it ASAP to make sure that there's not a security issue. So, key takeaways and next steps, things that, because again, I know it's the middle of tax season, and if you're, immediately getting stressed out about any of these, some of these can be really heavy lifts, like interviewing IT teams, going out to bid, finding the right fit for you. But some things that you can do right away, just send a reminder to your employees. It's tax season. There's tax phishing scams. There's all sorts of things that our clients are being bombarded with. Tax practices are going to be a target right now. Please, please just do your due diligence. Make sure that you're really paying attention before you're clicking on things, opening attachments, following links, etc. Please be reminded to encourage our clients to use our secure portals and to not send information to us in an insecure manner. So, those are just really easy things that you can send out to your team right now, just so that all of this is top of mind when we start having that data come in at a fast and furious pace. You can implement the MFA and the encryption really, really quickly. So most softwares like QuickBooks, your tax softwares, most of them will have this, but pretty much everything that we're using to access our client information is going to have some type of multi-factor authentication option. So that's something that you can do today, right now. If those are not turned on, or maybe they're optional and your team has the ability to opt out, just go take the option away, go make sure everything's turned on, make sure that everybody is using multi factor authentication for the things that they're signing into. You can go read that IRS link on compliant e-signatures and make sure that whatever e-signature option you are currently using is going to be compliant with those guidelines. If you're using an e-signature option that is built into your tax software, generally those are already set up to be compliant based off of the IRS requirements. But a lot of practices, I know especially smaller practices, tend to use other options because the e-signatures built into the tax software can be really pricey compared to things like a DocuSign. So you want to just make sure that what you are using is compliant. If you haven't developed that incident response plan, or haven't developed your WISP, or haven't looked at it in a little bit, put that on your list of things to do. I also put a link in here to our WISP webinar. We did a webinar when this original requirement came out on things that you need to consider in your WISP document. So you can go check that out. It is another, half an hour long presentation, so not super long, and it'll give you a lot of information about how to put those together. Um, Thank you, Gary. Also, just put up in there the link to that webinar as well. So, review your cybersecurity insurance policies. This is another one. Put it onto your insurance broker, give them a call and say, it's tax season. I'm busy. We haven't talked about cybersecurity in a while, but I want you to review my coverage. Most small practices are wildly underinsured for cybersecurity risk, and it's excluded in some professional liability policies. Most of the time, you need to have a separate cybersecurity policy that is in addition to your professional liability or errors and omissions policy. So that's something that you can call your broker about and say, if we're not covered specifically for cybersecurity incidents, we need to have that conversation ASAP. And then the last one, educate your clients. Send out a really quick newsletter reminder to your clients. This is a huge value add to them, to just say, hey, as a reminder, there are phishing scams going on out there. It's tax season. Please protect your information. Please use the portal that we've provided to you to send information to us securely. We want to keep all of that safe. So we are right at 12:30. I'm going to take a breath. That was a lot of information in a short span of time. If you have any questions, um, even after the fact, if you think of something, please feel free to email me, give me a shout. I'm happy to do my best to answer your questions whenever they come up. And thank everybody for being here today.
Boom, drop the mic timely, right?
Yes.
Yes, well, thank you. I know it's tax season, so I know everybody is very busy. Um, I think the one thing out of all of that, and you said it on the front end, you said it right there at the end, and that is the point on educating your clients.
Hmm.
Um, again, people are do what they do, not so they can be, working on taxes or accounting or worrying about, the next cyber threat. So, they're working their jobs heads down. And I think, a key role for people in your seats, the advisor, is to constantly remind people, hey, you know what? Have you checked these things lately? And the email ones are so easy, especially if you're dealing with, I'm in my upper 50s, so especially if I can say this without being like ageist, but if you're dealing with an older client base, they may just not be paying attention to it. I mean, I think it
They're
is.
getting so hard to
Yep,
decipher too. There's some that really, really take me a few minutes now. They are so professionally done and they look so legitimate. So, and
right.
it's hard during busy season because we're just going at a mile a minute. You are, your clients are, your team is, and it's hard to like make yourself slow down, but we really have to pay attention.
Yep. Think before you click, right?
Yes.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Christine. Thanks everybody for being here. We will send out a copy of the slide deck and a link to the YouTube channel, which is where this will stay. And then I think that's all that will be in the follow-up email. So thank you all again. And if you did request information on the Be Insightful program, we will send that out to you as well. Have a wonderful tax season, and we will, Christine, have a great trip next week. And then we will see you all very soon.
Bye, everyone.